I really credit my success to being smart enough to realize what I know, but actually smarter to realize what I don't know. My name is Breck Jones. I am founder and CEO of US WorldMeds, and it's a business I started, coming up on 24 years ago now. I was born in Louisville on George Washington's birthday, 1959. I had wonderful parents, but each were very different from the other. My father was extremely outgoing. He was the consummate salesman. He worked 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and literally the only time he would ever not be working is when our family went away for a holiday or special vacations. My mother, on the other hand, she was sweet as can be, very proper and reserved. She always helped us with our homework, and she encouraged me and my sister to always work hard and earn good grades. Actually paid us 25 cents for every A and 10 cents for every B we got every time our report cards came out. Both parents stressed the importance of getting a great education, and for perspective, when I had a full MBA scholarship at SMU, they insisted that I go to Wharton and they paid 100% of my tuition for those, the 2 years I went there, and that was the time when both Wharton and Harvard were battling for the top MBA spot in the United States. I have had a lot of entrepreneurial ventures. I was the only kid in the neighborhood who was allowed to cross Highway 22 or Brownsboro Road and go over to Super X. I had a Kool-Aid stand in my front yard, and I'd actually ride my bike across the street and buy candy bars for a nickel and bring them back and sell them for a dime. And I gotta say, I was competitive as any of my buddies out there. I just unfortunately wasn't that fast or athletic, or good looking for that matter. I was actually over 100 pounds in third grade, and I can still picture it, I can still remember my white football helmet had a big R on it for being restricted because I weighed too much and they wouldn't let me carry the football. Knowing I couldn't compete and win in athletics, but I was competitive, I chose at an early age that academic and work was going to be my playing field, where I knew I could and would win. I had a virtual 48-hour photographic memory when it came time to taking tests. I don't know if many people even know that, because that was my little secret. And I may not have been as fast as others, but I could outwork them all. And I would just go on forever. And that's not unlike how I've performed professionally, and it's kind of along the lines of our mantra here at US WorldMeds, which has been failure's not an option. Early on, I was part of the cool group. I have to admit, I was then and remain today a goody two-shoes, and ultimately I went a different direction away from the cool group, continuing to excel academically, but also pursuing the dollar across a myriad of opportunities, from contract photography to teaching ballroom dancing. I actually had a number of grass cutting jobs and worked manual labor for the Honey Creek subdivision here in town, relishing when I could work beyond 40 hours a week and earn time and a half my $1.95 an hour wage. Got my real estate license and started selling houses at the age of 18, and actually bought my first rental house that year at age 18. Coming out of Wharton, I took the lowest paying job for a couple reasons. One, I think I've already talked about how, my father literally worked 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and I never, if I'm really honest, I never got to see him. And I loved him to death. He was out at my football games, and most of my football games, not all of them, but I wanted to spend time with him. And I can remember, when I knew he was on the verge of dying, I wanted to be there. And so yes, coming back home, a big part of it was to be able to spend time with him. And I can really remember probably 3 or 4 nights a week, we'd go to Nelson Miller's Roundhouse Farm, and we'd be fishing and just being a father and a son, and that was a very special moment for me. But Another part of coming back is I had the opportunity working for assistant to the president, not just to be with him, but because of the role I had with the company, it really didn't require all my time. And that really is a key part of being a successful entrepreneur, is having the time to go out and do what you need to do. And so taking that job, while it wasn't paying me the most money, it provided me with the time I needed to go out and really start doing some of the things I needed to do to get where I wanted to be, because most people, in my humble opinion, find themselves working too much to really have any time to do what it really takes to be a successful entrepreneur or do something very special. I have to say my father's work habits rubbed off on me at a very early age. I've been a hard worker as long as I can remember. However, at age 25, when my father died at 55, and knowing that my grandfather died at 61, I kind of told myself, you know what, I'm probably going to be dead in 30 years. And if I really wanted to enjoy life, I needed to be retired at age 40. Anyway, I got to say that changed the trajectory of my work habits, and I set out to be working harder than ever. And I don't think there was any malintent, but again, having grown up in a family where I saw a father that I loved, that I knew loved me, and he worked his tail off, that's how he was my role model. That's how I lived my life. And yet, that became a problem, at least in a first marriage that ultimately did not work out. And when it did not work out and I realized that I wasn't seeing my kids, I wasn't going to let that happen. I was going to make sure my kids and my family came first. That was a very, very good lesson. And again, I think one thing about being successful and being a success in whatever you are is make sure you learn from your mistakes, and family really needs to be kept first in anybody's life. However, I'm a firm believer that everything in life happens for a reason, and I wouldn't be sitting here where I am if it wasn't for the culmination of all my life experiences. And yes, we do have a son now who's graduated from UVA, he's getting his master's at Vanderbilt. That's a whole nother story, because Mama's been pressing him to come into the business. I've been saying, don't do it. And anyway, it's kind of funny, because we're saying we now are fully aligned. He's off doing his thing. And if you're doing something that you have to do, you feel pressure to do, you're going to be miserable. And that's not what life is about. Life is about loving what you do, having a passion, being with people you love being with, and again, hopefully doing some good in the world. Ultimately, it does take a family to be supportive of one's entrepreneurial journey, because success does involve sacrifices of time and money. However, the lesson I learned is that you can keep your family first and still be successful, and balancing spending with investments. And seeing a dad that worked every single moment that I saw him in his life, I was thinking he didn't get to enjoy life. And so that's why that was a big driver for me trying to get to where I could retire by age 40. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to get to enjoy the life my dad didn't get to enjoy. And yes, 2 weeks into retirement, I was like, what the hell have I just done? Because I was absolutely going crazy, thinking this is not what life is about. Life is not about doing nothing. I'll tell you that right now. Life is, and that's really kind of when the light bulb went on for me, and when I came to realize life is really about doing what you love doing. And it really, if you love what you're doing, at least professionally, it's not work, it's a passion. Starting US WorldMeds, I've got to say, has never been about the money or cashing out. It's really been about doing something others haven't done. It's been, as I said, part of my goal, what I figured out, it's trying to work with smart people and ultimately doing some good on this earth while I'm here. It's also been about creating a company that could become a substantial, multi-generational corporate citizen of Kentucky, which is really worth much more to me than any amount of money. While US WorldMeds has definitely been my greatest financial and legacy success, it's really been the culmination of all my smaller successes that has provided me with the necessary experience, capital, and time to start US WorldMeds. I will say I also ran into the wall 6.5 years ago when frankly I found myself the company teetering on bankruptcy and told myself I had to get things fixed. And so I took myself off the salary 5.5 years ago, or 6.5 years ago, told myself I had to get things fixed. But, I'm very pleased to say we did get things fixed, and I was able to put myself back on salary a little over a year ago. And we are where we are today, where I set out to be, which we are today a profitable, debt-free business, multiple protected products, great team of people, and we remain privately held with our Jones family in control and really set to be that multi-generational company I set out to achieve. So I'm very proud of that. I think entrepreneurship is important because that's what creates an economy. I think it's great to have entrepreneurs get out and talk about what they're doing and hopefully inspire other people, because ultimately that's what's going to create new businesses. It's going to create growth and opportunity for not only the citizens, the young kids that are growing up that hopefully we want to keep here in Kentucky instead of having to move off to other states. And ultimately, I think that's going to drive a great community, which is one of the reasons I came back to Kentucky. It's a place I call home and where I wanted to be.